when it comes to college football. What do you think? Uh, there are teams on the FBS level that have decided to withhold and not play a spring game in 2025. Some of those teams include Nebraska, Ohio State, Iowa, Minnesota, USC. That's out of the Big Ten. In the SEC, Alabama, Missouri, Texas, Ole Miss. Out of the ACC, Florida State, North Carolina State. The Big 12, BYU, Arizona, and Oklahoma is to add to this list as well now. Teams are opting out of spring football games. And you know what's happening? In this ever-changing world of NIL, factoring in the transfer portal, teams are poaching. They have an opportunity to watch a young man go out, have a successful spring, see the potential, and throw the bag at them. I mean, because you can go where you want once the semester ends in May. Transfer over into the summer, go and be a part of a program, get ready for fall camp, and boom, you're in a new program just that quick. Coaches are now trying to protect their asset, the asset now more than ever, the football player. It used to be the coach, because to the player, there was nothing more to offer than a scholarship and some behind-the-scene things that you really never wanted out in the public. So it made it a little easier to keep your asset, because it was like under-the-table business. It was deals that you did not want known in the public. You did it under the table. It was private. But the deals are wide open now. The deals are wide open, and kids are now having the ability and opportunity to go anywhere. And if you have a kid that is a star in the spring, have a breakout, showing, because guess what? What we've seen in the past, these spring games have become something huge in college football. They're on television. It's nothing in April to turn on to ESPN in Texas. Spring game is there. Alabama spring game is there. Clemson. And to watch a spring game. Now, myself personally, I never put much stock into a spring game. The spring game is for the fan. It's a glorified scrimmage. Anybody in the football world knows they've done that scrimmage at practice too many times leading up to it. It's just finally opened up to the public. And we're going to run some script plays. And guess what? We're not going to really show you much, because we know somebody's out there watching. And in today's world, there's a national television audience out there watching. On the smaller scale, let's bring it down to Southern, FCS. You may send a coach over there to watch it, right? A position coach. Hey, go see what Southern down there doing. Go on up to Alcorn and see what they got going on at the spring game. But it used to be more centered towards the plays that teams ran, just to kind of get a base of who they were. And then you got an idea, okay, this guy. But now it is solely on the players. Everybody's wanting the next player. Everybody wants to poach. And if you have enough money in this day and age in college football, you can do as you please. Kids are not chasing the championships anymore like they were before. It was a world just 5 years ago where Nick Saban can walk in his house, hands full of championship rings, and say, son, you too could have one of these. The world we live in now, the kids don't give a damn about them championship rings on the hand. Coach, what that's going to do for me and my family? I like championships. I think we all want to be champions, but if there's a way where money can be involved, that you care less about that championship. You then begin to look at the ways that you can change your family's trajectory. Making millions of dollars or hundreds of thousands of dollars in the college football landscape that we live in today. So me personally, I'm okay with the notion of canceling the spring game. Not necessarily playing one. It's okay. Not a lot of fans show up to them anyway. Coaches aren't going to really show you much anyway. And if you want to keep your best asset, your best players, it's best that you keep them away from any eyes of anybody from the opposing teams, conferences, and anywhere else. Because it can very well, as much as I'm painting this picture for you on the big scale in the FBS, imagine, let's just take the smaller scale. You have a kid who has a breakout spring, and he catches the attention of somebody. Let alone a breakout year. We're seeing it in the conference around the SWAC where, let's just take a wide receiver from UAPB, Javonte Gibson, from Opelousas, Louisiana. Was not highly recruited out of high school. Went to the University of Arkansas, Monticello, a Division II program. He left that program and moved up to FCS Division I at UAPB, the University of Arkansas, Pine Bluff. FCS All-American, one of the top receivers in the country on that level, and guess where he is now? He's at Oklahoma. Oklahoma. He worked his way up from Division II all the way to playing now for FBS, big SEC, Oklahoma. Those are the type of things in which the game has evolved and changed these days. The big boys are noticing it quick, fast, and in a hurry. Just as soon as Ohio State won that national championship against Notre Dame, the phone calls started to roll in from teams all across the nation trying to poach their best players. You won a championship, or do you want to win this bag? Do you want some money? Do you want some money? And then the conversation turns over to when it's on our level, you wanted those 4-year guys who you brought in as a freshman, you developed them. Like, I take a guy like a Danny Johnson. Danny Johnson came into Southern as a highly recruited kid from the mid-majors, the FCS, very talented kid. Comes into Southern and works his way up. Every year gets better, ultimately going on to play in the NFL for the Washington Commanders. But that was a kid who went through the process, developed, and got better, working out, waiting on his time, and experience got him where he needed to be, ultimately for most of these guys where they're looking at getting to the NFL. How often in the world today, because this was pre-COVID, this was pre-NIL, pre-transfer portal. How often will we see that in today's world where a kid comes in, is a 4-year guy? Well, that's the whole thing. Will you see him be a 4-year guy? He comes through the process, goes through the process, he gets to that point, and boom, here come the teams poaching. Here come Louisiana Tech. Here come Tulane. Here comes Southern Miss. That's just the smaller schools. He goes off. Okay, here come Texas Tech. Okay, LSU is giving a call. Ole Miss is calling. It is an interesting world that we live in today when it comes to college football, and you're starting to see the change across the landscape and why coaches are nervous to showcase talent. I think it was one of the issues that we had here at Southern with Coach Dooley when he was the head coach, and we were having the issues with the quarterback room. I honestly, in my whole heart, think he was not giving the quarterbacks opportunities to be seen, because you start to get film, you can then take that film and hit the transfer portal. Now that I look back at it, that's honestly, and it could be some stubbornness too, okay? It was some stubbornness in that. But with the quarterback room that he had, we saw all of those guys play last year. And what happened? They hit the portal. Xavier Tissett, Noah Biden. So you got to protect your asset these days. You have to play a smart game as a head coach these days. Because when you're looking at what you have and knowing that you may have a diamond in the rough, you have coached this guy up. You have developed this guy. You want to win championships with this guy, but then here come the big school and takes that guy away from you because they have the resources to be able to allocate to him and his family, in which you're limited resource. That's what we use. That's what we say on this level, particularly at HBCUs as well, limited resource institutions. Now it's starting to look like what used to be the JUCO league, right? JUCOs, the junior college leagues around the country, where that's where talent went. That's where talent went to be seen again. It was like hitting a restart button. I go to this JUCO to change it, to get you to realize, hey, I could be a part of your program. I've been over at East Mississippi Community College for a year. Okay, now Florida State's calling. All right, Georgia Tech's calling because they saw the landscape is changing. We headed in a new era, and we're there. It's all about how we're going to survive this new era. Kelby Givens was a kid we was hoping stayed at Southern after winning co-defensive player of the year, and you saw his talent. Like, hey, Kelby, please don't go nowhere, Kelby. We understand how good you are, but that's the type of things that'll happen when you start to get these players who have the type of seasons like a Kelby Givens, who is one of the best in the country on his level, and we're talking FCS. But then you see those other schools say, man, look, we can pack on a couple more pounds of muscle on this kid. We can get him in a great dietetic and nutrition program. We can take this kid to the next level to then be an asset for us. That's the poaching. And that's what makes it tough in this world today of college football and college athletics, period. Of being able to keep your prized possessions, your diamonds in the rough, those kids that you develop. And a lot of times now what I'm believing is what we're going to start seeing, a lack of development. Kids jumping here to there just trying to get playtime, and they missing the essential part of the development side of the game. You looking for playing time instead of looking to learn. You going out with raw talent, but you can be so much better if you sit somewhere and take the opportunity to be developed. But then I can say that, and I can't say that because I understand just as soon as you start playing football, talking about being developed, you have to be able to monetize yourself as best as possible because everybody's not going to the NFL. The NFL, even if you get there, does not necessarily mean you're going to come in getting high dollar and you're going to have a longevity in terms of career. Most guys who do get into the NFL is over with by the time they're 23, 24 years old. Simple as that. It is a revolving door. Looking for your replacement each and every season, mid-season, before season, after season, it does not matter. So in today's world, it's, hey, you got to get it while you can, because when it's over, think about how many guys that we've seen in our lifetime who were tremendous college football athletes. Tremendous. Household names, and then you never heard of them again on the other side. And you think about if they were able to come up with the money in college football during those times, how much different lives would have been. Just take Reggie Bush. They took his whole Heisman. They since given it back. But think about the upside. I mean, Reggie Bush was the man in Los Angeles. He was the man across the country, one of the best running backs to ever grace the college football playing field. I take a guy like Vince Young for 2 straight years. Before there was a Cam Newton, let's go to Vince Young. The year that he beat Michigan in the Rose Bowl, what an amazing game that was. He took on a receiver, you remember the receiver, Braylon Edwards, who was a damn good receiver, best receiver in the country at Michigan. That Michigan team was pretty loaded. But Vince Young then comes back the next year against all odds. Shout out to my man, Coach Roger Kadar. That's his book, Against All Odds. But against all odds, against the USC team with Matt Leinart and Reggie Bush. In today's day, in NIL, in the transfer portal, do you think you will have 2 Heisman Trophy winners on one team? Imagine the money that's pouring in saying, look, bruh, come on over here. All right. And then just think about what Vince Young did that year. That was so magical. That was a magical season to put that team on his back at Texas, who we know has a boatload of money. And trust me, Vince Young was taken care of. The old saying back in the day was when guys left college, you actually went to the NFL to take a pay cut for most of them. We understood what was going on, but what a hell of a season. And just imagine the monetary side of what that would have been to what he did to bring Texas a national championship, the way that he did for the entire nation, to seeing what I think is one of the best college football national championships ever played out in Pasadena, California for the Rose Bowl between USC and Texas. So that's the world that we live in today when I describe to you why teams are canceling their spring games. And will it trickle down? Will we start to see this even on Southern's level where we're saying, you know what, we're not going to do a spring game? Or do we still keep it towards the fan? Because spring game is really fan-oriented. You're really there just to watch a glorified scrimmage. They're not going to show you much. They're going to run through base plays. You're going to see a lot of rotating the guys in and out, just trying to get reps, just trying to get guys used to, hey, get in and let's see what you're going to do.